Okay, I find myself in a very weird position of being sat in a hotel room in Manchester talking to Dr. Patrick O'Connor from Nottingham-Trent University. And you published a book recently, last year, year before,
That's right, yeah.
called, I'm going to get the wrong way around now, Reclaiming Atheism?
Atheism claimed.
Yeah, I know that'd be the wrong one. But more, I guess, the point, irrespective of which way around you shuffle the questions, who or what are you hoping to reclaim atheism from?
Okay. So the reason I wanted to sort of write that book was I kind of sort of set myself a challenge. Could I write a book on atheism that didn't use the word God in it? And I think I managed that one, but I used like Microsoft Check and stuff like that to be absolutely sure.
Sounds like kind of your Perrick kind of thing, but
Yeah.
at ease or
But then I think the point was that like a lot of the, I guess a lot of the conventional forms of atheism, they very much are sort of uber obsessed with the question of the existence of God.
They become basically kind of confrontational things about those arguments, which you won't rehearse here.
Yeah, whether they're good, whether they're bad, whether one can find the evidence, whether one can substantiate them. So I thought that I think I wanted to sort of put that, spin that or bracket that and put it on one side, and I wanted to look at sort of an alternative lineage of atheism, of which I think there is. So that involved looking at thinkers like Nietzsche, Heidegger, Sartre, people like that.
So yeah, I mean, famously, Sartre's commented that he, in I think Existentialism and Humanism, the kind of essay, that he saw atheism not as the end point of a series of arguments, but a kind of presumed starting point. What happens if we start with atheism? Then what? Rather than fight. Now we've got atheism. Game over.
Yeah. So I mean, because that fight is just. I mean, if you sort of think like Hegel, it's just this ever recurring dialectic between atheism and
and I mean, I would say in the last decade or so of the the new atheism and the kind of books that take over tables in bookshops that say kind of God debate.
Yeah.
Nobody's ever changed their mind.
Yeah, that's true.
Everybody just gets kind of more, or they find the books that will help them decide to stay with the point of view they've already got. It seems kind of futile.
Yeah, sort of that. Given that we've talked so much about like echo chambers in politics, that seems to be the first great example of it.
It's kind of paradigmatic case of So you were trying to do something different in your but you weren't trying to do yet another one that gets on that table in the God debate bit of Waterstones so nobody buys it. So what were you trying to do?
Well, I think I had sort of a guiding question in it, and I think the idea that say I can say God now with those with the idea if you sort of exist in the Sartrean point, if you exist in a sort of a universe without a God, then what type of person does that mean we're not to become? Because I think there are sort of big consequences to that, and I think that it presupposes a different type of human being, or a different type of sets of dispositions of what the type of human being is, and what then I guess what I was asking in the book or trying to explain is what those dispositions are. And
I'm interested to hear you say that, because I've quite often in scouring internet atheist forums, which is a weird hobby, but one thing that's a particular trope on them, I guess, is people saying atheism has no consequences. Just because someone's an atheist, they can be any political persuasion, any ethical persuasion, it doesn't imply any philosophical point of view, certainly doesn't imply any ethical, dispositional point of view at all. So that kind of point of view seems very common on certain brand of atheists, to say their atheism doesn't dispose them towards any particular point of view whatsoever. And so how would you encounter counter that kind of approach?
Well, I guess the things I looked at were I looked at questions of freedom. I looked at questions of time. I looked at questions of sort of collective life. I guess the sort of what people say to me, and I can understand it, is all atheism is presupposition that God does not exist. Nothing more, nothing less. So you can be a libertarian, you can be a communist, you can be whatever you want. But I don't think that's necessarily all of the case, because there's a great history of philosophers whose, I guess, their ontological, their their sort of understanding of the material universe has direct ethical and political consequences. I mean, you could think of say someone like Marx here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so who would like he talks about the development of historical materialism, and that has sort of very very distinct, ethical, very very distinct and sharp ethical outcomes.
And we've always, I thought, to use that book, steal that book title, that kind of thought of metaphysics actually is a guide to morals. We've always kind of tried to take that kind of route to some extent. So it does seem slightly perverse to think that this particular metaphysical claim or claim of rejection of certain kind of metaphysics is kind of value free and has no consequence to how we live.
Yeah, that's precisely right. I think that's. I mean, if you're sort of an existential atheist, is what I've got to go through, it presupposes that that you are embedded in the universe, you're embedded in a world, you're embedded in a context, and that presupposes as well, I think, a great deal of contingency about the nature of your own being, the nature of others. A great deal of if you want to use Martha Nussbaum's idea, a great deal of sort of fragility or precariousness, and if that's what you are, then it limits the ethical responses you could have to the world.
Yeah. Well, I think that just as you were saying that, I was also thinking of something you had said 5 minutes ago or whatever, which was about, and it might be the last thing I guess about really, because I think it's just kind of what I thought reading the book was the kind of a point that the reader perhaps ought to take away from it was the phrase the collective life. You talked about it kind of having consequences for we're kind of stuck here together with nothing else out there. So you're thinking about fragility. So that idea, I think, which came across quite powerfully, of the idea that there's something about atheism that should focus us in a very different way on what it is to be here together alone, as it were.
I think so. I mean, I think one of the chapters, the final chapter of my book was called I think it was called the Common. So I was sort of trying to think, I guess it's I guess it sort of comes from sort of elements of Marx and Sartre, the idea that it is precisely because there is no God that we have to embrace sort of the collective life, And I know I'm speaking very generally, but I guess the idea is that in some sense, I would sort of subscribe to what Marx calls, species being. The idea that sort of we have very, very if we are sort of material creatures, it presupposes that we have very, very distinct, in a very distinct embodied life and a very shared embodied life as well, which is based on very, very particular needs that need catering for.
And I think that's going to quite end certainly in the book in a very compelling way. So thank you for trying to explain that to me. And if people want to know more, they should probably go and buy the book.
Thank you. Yeah.